That's who that guy is.
Let's bring up the man, the myth, the legend. Number one Eagles beat reporter in town is John McMullen. He joins us now from the Lincoln Financial Field. Johnny Mac, welcome to the show, my friend. What'd you make of that Eagles game? They moved to 8-2 on the year, and they are officially in the driver's seat for first place in the NFC East, John.
Yeah, pretty impressive performance defensively. Number one, I mean, before I can even get to the offense, and the offense, obviously, it's been a lot of the same story. I heard Dan talking about, look, early, not good. They had a little bit of juice early in the game, 2 first downs. Then they get the sack and they're behind the sticks again. All year they've been doing that. And then, I'm going to disagree with Dan in one aspect. It's not the quarterback. It's not 26. It's the offensive line. And that's what Nick Sirianni said. I mean, that group
is great.
I mean, if you think about Kenny Gainwell coming in, and he had a run, there was a 3-play stretch, 14, 13, 7, just bang, bang, bang. And it was kind of muddy the entire game, the running game. And all of a sudden it's like a dam, it burst open, where they just, pushed and wore Washington down, and it just fell apart for the Commanders defensively. And Saquon was great, don't get me wrong, but man, Nick gives the offensive line, everybody on the offensive line, a game ball when they pass 200 yards rushing. No team has done that. They got a lot of game balls. Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Jason Kelsey, obviously not here. Cam Jurgens picking up the slack. He had a great block on the second level. That offensive line, when Jordan Mailata's in there like he was today, it's right there. You could argue Detroit, but it's right there with the best in football. And I know when we talk about the draft every year and we talk about the Eagles might draft an offensive lineman and everybody gets upset. You shouldn't be upset because I get it. Everybody loves skill position people, but it's the offensive line.
John, the point of attack, I mean, blowing guys off the football like that, there's no question. And then when you think about it now, this is the 3rd straight year with 3 different players over 1,000 yards. So that validates your point even more so, is that it really doesn't even matter who's back there running the ball. It could be Gainwell. It could be anybody. Kenny Gainwell probably could gain 1,300 yards behind that offensive line because he, like you said, was a force. I mean, it really does come down to Jeff Stoutland and that group, man. It's the best group in the National Football League next to the Lions. And that's why the 2 teams right now, John, are probably the best teams in the NFC is because of the 2 things that you just talked about. Offensive line. Detroit's got 2 guys, John, that are potentially going to go over 1,200 yards rushing this year because of that O-line, and that's why they're 8-1.
Yeah, and I don't want to dismiss Saquon Barkley because, I think if you look at, he had those 2 touchdown runs in 20 seconds of game time. So that's when it all ended. And when you look at the 23-yard touchdown, just massive hole. But, like, when that hole opens, he's gone. He's gone. Like, in years prior, Miles Sanders might get 15, 16 yards. DeAndre Swift might get 13 or 14. He's gone. So that's the difference. And then on the 30-whatever yard touchdown, same thing. Massive hole. But then, he's gone. So Saquon deserves a ton of credit. Don't get me wrong. He's been unbelievable. I set his number way too low. I feel sorry for Zander. He's got to give away a jersey every week. He's been unbelievable. But you look at him with New York and you look at him here.
Different people, John.
Yeah. I mean, it's the offensive line. I mean, it's unbelievable.
He's just a different dude. I mean, I can't – if you're John Mara, man, you're watching that, you're like, what didn't I do to build a team around that guy? You give him an O-line because You're telling me that guy, and I said it before to you, John, and I'll say it again. That guy started his career in Philly. He'd be Adrian Peterson. I mean, that's the kind of talent
Yeah.
it looks like right now. By the way, him in the passing game tonight too, going up the middle of the seam and on the hash marks. God dang it, man! He is a really good football player. And I mentioned this to you too, John. John, take the quarterbacks out of the conversation in the NFL. Can you name another player in the league that's having a better year than him? Maybe Derrick Henry and him would battle that out. I mean,
yeah.
Can you name
Offensively,
player?
I mean, you got like defensive players, and Zach Bond. Zach Bond. It's like he had one little hiccup on the scoring drive for Washington. He didn't do a good job on Austin Eckler. Had him, didn't tackle him. But that fourth down stop, it's 12-10 in the game. A lot of people would have said, I'm sure Dan Quinn's going to say, take the points. I'm sure he's going to hear that. But he knows his defense is leaking oil better than anybody. He knows he's got to go and score to try to win that football game. And they got a 4th and 1 or 2, I forget what it was. And Jane Daniels bobbled the snap, so that screwed things up. But it looked, I don't know how it looked on TV, but from up top, it looked like he had an angle where he was going to get that first down. And all of a sudden, here comes Zach Bond like a missile.
Blew him up.
And he just stopped him, I mean, in his tracks.
I tell people the angle, when you got a guy that's running forward and you got another guy in a pursuit angle, the guy in the pursuit angle has a deficiency because the other guy's running straight ahead, and he blew him backwards 3 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, he hit him like a missile. I'm like, that was one of the plays of the game, because right there, the momentum.
I argue that was the play of the game, because if they get that first down, maybe they score a touchdown. They're certainly going to kick a field goal. I guess you can't say certainly in the Jake Elliott game where he missed 3 kicks, but they're probably going to kick a field goal at the bare minimum, and they're up 13-12. Now, I still think the Eagles would have went down the field, because you could feel the Washington defense sort of, the buttressing of that deep. It was falling. You could feel it. Sometimes, Dan, this. Sometimes you could feel defense is just worn out.
Yep.
And that was the feel I got about the Washington defense. But Washington was going to take the lead in that game. Just a matter of, was it going to be 13-12 or 18-12, 17-12? They were going to take the lead in that game if Zach Bond doesn't make the play. And then the Eagles get the football. That's like a sudden change, almost like a turnover. And I think it was 3-4 plays later, Saquon's first touchdown. They had the big play to Dallas Goedert where he fumbled, and Grant Calcaterra hustled to get that. And then Saquon kind of put the game away. But I think the play of the game was Zach Bond on that 4th down stop.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it arguably was. Johnny Mac, what about Quinyon Mitchell, man? I mean, we talked about Terry McLaurin. It was like he wasn't even out there tonight. Quinyon Mitchell, another tremendous performance.
Well, they didn't throw to, 2 things about it. And Jane Daniels did not play well. 2 things.
No, he did not.
Jalen Carter lit him up early. And I think he was thinking about that the rest of the game. I really do. And the second part is, I was talking to CJ after the game, CJ Gardner-Johnson, and their whole plan, and this is CJ, so blame CJ, not me, was to make him play quarterback. Keep him in the pocket, make him play quarterback. And they did it, and he didn't do it well. And I think a lot of it had to do with, back in the old days, Dan can attest to this, but they tell you, go hit the quarterback early. I don't care if you get a penalty. Make him feel it, make him think about it early. And maybe you get him off his game. I think that happened to Jaden Daniels today.
How about this too, John? A draft day, I said, I see all the potential in the world. that reminds me of Jerome. I played 2 years next to Jerome Brown. Man, his hands, his disruptiveness inside, pulling guards off, hitting the quarterback, his quick first step. It reminds me so much of Jerome. And man, I'm telling you, I know the guy in New York is the best interior tackle nose in the league, Dexter Lawrence. But boy, this guy's coming. This kid's coming, man. He's a really good-looking player.
Yeah, he's tremendously gifted. I still look at Chicago and say they passed that guy twice. I get it. If you don't want to take him number 1 overall, because a lot of teams didn't because of the off the field stuff, but to trade down and he's still there, and you say, nah, we don't want him again. That's why Chicago's Chicago.
That's why Chicago's Chicago right now.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But he is tremendously gifted, and now he's playing a lot. He's increased his conditioning to where he can play a lot. And look, you mentioned that defense. I should say, when I was talking about the offense, to me, it's not about the quarterback. It's not about 26. It's not even about their best football player, which I still think is A.J. Brown. It's not about any of them. It's about the offensive line. But this team specifically, the defense is better than the offense.
Yeah. And there's no doubt. John, you said something in the pregame show, and I think you said it also on Birds 365, which, by the way, guys, don't forget to join tomorrow. Did you feel a little conservative play calling and decision making? Did you feel a little bit of that when they weren't going for it on fourth? It just seemed to me again that they knew it was a big game, an NFC East game. I mean, did you feel that, John, there, or did you? Am I overblowing that? Because I thought it's just some of the decision making in the game. I thought they kind of were out of character a little bit in the
They were
first.
a little longer, those Sills. Like the one was like a 4th and 6, I think, or
the first Elliott miss. I'm just looking them up. That's why. Yeah, I didn't. The first Elliott miss was on 4th and 13. So I mean,
you're not going for it there, right?
And then the second one, which was the 51-yarder, I don't remember, but it wasn't close. No good.
But John, they were in like territory. They were in Washington's territory, and they had a couple 3rd and 3s, 3rd and 2s, and like instead of going for it, like on the 45, which they traditionally have been doing, they punted. And I will say that maybe I'm overblowing that. I don't know. I just
I didn't get a set. I'm trying to look. They had a 3rd and 4, but that was from their own 32. They're not doing that. 4th and 4. I'm trying to find the Elliott. They were 4th and 3 from the Washington 3. Now there's one. 4th and 3 from the 3. 15 play, 87-yard drive. They settled for a chip shot field goal. There's one. If they're playing better, they might go for that.
Yeah. Okay. John, I'm going to ask you about the offense now. Obviously, the defense has been impressive. Saquon Barkley is another massive day. I said at the start of the show, John, I'm excited about the win. I think the team's in the driver's seat to get to first place. I think if they win out, they could potentially not win out, but if they handle their business, I think they could potentially have the playoffs come through Philadelphia. But nothing about what I saw tonight made me feel better about the passing game. Would you agree with that, or what would be your take on where they are as a passing team?
Not good. That's my only concern, really, with this team right now. I mean, not good. And Jalen Hurts had he was evaluated for concussion. I'm shocked they didn't do it right away. He took a
face
hit.
plant.
His helmet hit the turf, and typically they're going to, whether it's the independent spotter or the officials on the field, they're going to say, all right, you got to get checked out.
I think that was a spotter's call, John, because they took him right off and the ref stopped it and got him out of there. And I think that was a spotter from the booth.
Well, I thought they would have done it right away. They didn't do it right away. They checked him at right before halftime, after the drive was done, is when they checked him. And he passed, he cleared, but he didn't look right to me with that. But before that, even before that, he's late. I mean, there's a play early in the game with Devontae Smith right in front of us. You can't talk about because there is a lot. I think people, when you talk about each individual play and you have a progression, and people talk about guys on the other side of the field, I never criticize the quarterback. They don't understand. I say it all the time. You're not an owl. You got a progression on this side of the field. You're not. That's one of the reasons why guys on the other side of the defense knows that too, where the progression is. So they kind of ease off. And I think a lot of fans don't understand that. But this was right in front of his field of vision crossing pattern. Looked like it was designed to go to Devontae Smith. He was wide open. He didn't pull the trigger. This is consistent. Consistent.
Sacks too, John.
Yeah. So many of the sacks that, are covered sacks, are holding on to the football too long.
Sacks, John, in 2 weeks now. Late throws, inconsistent play. I mean, I'm telling you, and I tell people this, look, no question about it. You and me are looking at the macro of the team, John. We're not looking at the micro. We're looking at what this team could be. And for them to be a Super Bowl championship contending team, that guy can't have peaks and valleys like this. He can't look 1 week like this guy's Nate Sudfeld, and then all of a sudden the next series, this guy looks like Lamar Jackson. He just can't. It can't be that pitches and swings and late balls because, John, you're not going to play rookie quarterbacks in the postseason. You're going to be going against really good players, really good coaching, and really good hot rhythm players when you get into the postseason. And if you play inconsistent like that, you're going to get bounced.
No, yeah. And, today was a perfect example. I mean, this game was ugly for a large portion. You're losing 7-3 at halftime. You're losing 10-6 at the end of the third quarter. At the end of the third quarter, it was 10-6, Washington. Washington got I remember talking at halftime to Zander. It's like if they score, they got the football in the second half. If they scored a touchdown, they got a field goal. But if they scored a touchdown and make it 14-3 instead of 10-3, that completely changes the game. And then all of a sudden, it's an uphill battle. You can't stay as disciplined with the running game. You got to try to get some plays down the field. You got to try to get back in the game, 2-score game. He makes plays, but boy, there's a lot left on the bone.
Oh yeah, great.
Can they win with this, or is this such a big concern for you
they're
that
winning? They're 8-2? I mean,
I know, but they're winning now. Can they win when it matters the most?
Can they win a Super Bowl playing like this? I don't think so.
Even with this defense playing like they are, with Saquon playing like he is?
I don't think so.
No way. No way. Your quarterback is going to have to make plays in the postseason for you to win. And he's going to have to not make mistakes that are so blatant. By the way, Zander, what John and I are talking about is the easy throw.
Exactly.
I mean, the simple throws, like when Greg Cosell says he struggles at seeing the simple and the easy throws that are wide open. John's talking about a guy that's wide open. Do you understand? In the NFL, there are portholes openings when you're trying to throw a ball. In college, they're as big as a barn door. In the NFL, they're like portholes on a ship. You've got to get those through there. He misses these looks every game. There's at least 6 missed throws and late throws every football game that this Eagle team should That game should have been in the 30s. Like John predicted early, 30-35. Now, look, Elliott helped out a little bit there. That's on him with player performance. There you go, John. But again, seven missed throws at least in that ball game. Hey, man, I'll tell you again, like I said, Saquon Barkley and that O-line, they took control of the football game. And in the third and fourth quarter, Washington had nothing left, man, because they wore them out. It was like a prize fight, and you're in the fight with Mike Tyson, and he's pummeled you to death. That's what happened in that fight.
Yeah. And, early in the game, I mean, they outplayed them in the first half. But because of leaving stuff on the field, because of the missed field goals, certainly contributed to it. But, this should have been a much easier game to the point I think people look, the fourth quarter is exciting and 2 touchdowns in 20 seconds and, Saquon going off, and that's going to give everybody a good feeling. But, I'm concerned about Devontae is a little banged up. I saw Devontae. He's limping around. I'm surprised he's even playing. I'm surprised the Eagles are playing him. He's been dealing with this hamstring for 2 weeks, and that's an injury that if you play on it, it can get worse. So I'm a little surprised they're even letting him play on it right now. But, we have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and now you've seen Grant Calcaterra raise up and make some plays at times. And you've seen Jahan Dotson make circus catches and back shoulder catches and do at least a little bit to where you say he's better than Quez Watkins or somebody like that. And you can't throw the ball consistently. That's a concern to me, because you're never going to have a better supporting cast. There's a couple teams with similar supporting casts.
It's the greatest collection of offensive talent, skilled-wise, in Eagle history.
Agreed.
Oh, yeah.
There is no way in the history of that franchise, going back, whatever, that I've ever seen that amount of talent around them. And you cannot afford to miss that window right now, because you'll look at this right now, John. That football team doesn't win a Super Bowl over the next 6 years with the talent you have in that huddle. It'll be one of the most disappointing eras in the history of Philadelphia Eagle football if that thing doesn't.
It's tough. I mean, look, the expectations are high. I always kill people. Nick Sirianni, by the way, 42-19, whatever the hell he is now. It's ridiculous. How many games they've won since turning the corner in 2021. They win. You had the one hiccup last year and the collapse, and now they're right back to winning. They've won 6 straight games. They've shut down Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. They've shut down Jaden Daniels. Couldn't get the football to Terry McLaurin at all. They have this defense out of nowhere. I mean,
hey, John,
I don't know anybody.
John, when's the last time that defense gave up 300 yards in offense? I mean, I can't remember the team that put up
since Tampa.
Tampa, right?
Yeah.
What a run!
Their high water mark since the break, since the early bye. So this 6-game winning streak is 280 yards they gave up to Cincinnati, 280. And tonight they gave up 264, and a lot of that was garbage time at the end of the game on that last drive for Washington. 280 is their high water mark. Everything about this team screams championship except the passing game. Everything about it screams championship level football except the passing.
Is that a nice way of saying Jalen Hurts, though?
And by the way, who would have predicted that? which shows you how crazy the game of football is. Is it
Is that,
Jalen
but like
Hurts?
I said though, John, is that on like you say passing game, and I get it, I agree. But many could take
No,
from
I
that
think it's
Kellen
John's player
Moore,
performance.
wide receivers. Is
Zander,
it Jalen Hurts?
Jalen, this or Zander. This goes to what John says. This is player execution.
Which is on Jalen.
That's on
Yeah.
that's player execution. I mean, I tell people all the time, John, that's like blaming Bryce Harper for having a batting slump. You're blaming the hitting instructor for not having that guy in the right position to be able to hit the ball. That's player production, dude. I mean, you've got to hit those wide open throws, man. And by the way, one of the reasons why they've tailored back the passing game, and John's concerned about it just getting away a little bit from the passing game and being more of a running attack team, because he knows you got to win that way in the postseason. And the reason they're tailoring it back, they're limiting the turnover opportunities with high turnover plays, and they're giving the number one thing on that team the benefit of the doubt. That's the O-line. Okay, the best grouping on that team is the O-line. John's right. That as great as Devontae and AJ are, the whole line is superior. That's by far the best. That's one of the best groupings I've ever seen. I mean, you can go back to the Dallas Cowboy teams of the 90s, how good that offensive line is. You're running the ball at a 200-yard clip. Like, John, that game in 2 weeks with Baltimore, between those two running attacks, I don't know who's going to kill who more in that game. That's going to be a body bag game. That's a body bag game and a double mouthpiece game.
John, I got one last one for you, brother, before we let you go. Thank you for checking in. Great work tonight covering the football game. Make sure everybody goes and follows John on Twitter at JF McMullen. Great to follow as he's down at the game, and you can see his feed during the game. John, did we learn the real reason of why Nick Sirianni isn't kicking this year? Jake Elliott, John, what the hell happened to this guy?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, man. Jake is a stand-up guy. He said he stood up there and answered every question. Called his performance pathetic. This is a guy who made 32 of 34 field goals last season. He missed 2 in the first half, and he missed a extra point later. He's not himself. I've heard a lot of theories. He had one bad season before, and he bounced back. He just said he trusts his process. He believes in it. It's always strange to me because I always tell the story. Jake Elliott is great at everything. He's a great golfer. He's a great ping pong player. He beats everybody at everything that he does. Softball, he goes out there and Carson Wentz's old softball game, Devontae Smith's softball game. He wins home run derbies. He's unbelievable. Anything that involves hand-eye coordination. So when I see him miss field goals, it's weird. But he stood up and he said, pathetic. And, but there's tremendous trust with him. You never know. The NFL stays it's not static. I say all the time, because you were an all-pro doesn't mean you're going to be an all-pro in perpetuity. Everybody slips. I can't explain it. I don't think anybody can explain it. But, it wasn't a good night, to say the least, for Jake Elliott.
Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Thanks for checking in, brother. Any other final takeaways? We'll talk to you in the morning on Birds 365, but any other final takeaways on this game? Birds in the driver's seat now to get that first seed.
Yeah, well, I don't know about the first seed, but
for
the NFC East.
Yeah, NFC East.
They're right there on Detroit's heels now. I mean,
Yeah.
Detroit almost lost the game last week, so they have to keep winning. And remember, Detroit's got a much tougher division because they still have to play Minnesota again. They got to play Green Bay. Have they played Green Bay once?
I mean, they got to play both. They got to play Minnesota and Green Bay.
Yeah, so there's some opportunities for them to lose games, and if the Eagles keep going, a couple of weeks, the Rams.
They got the Bills in there too, John.
Yeah. Carolina's coming here December 8th. I mean, the Eagles are going to boat race that team. So if they can get through Los Angeles and Baltimore, yeah, you can start talking about legit number one seed, and nobody's going to want to come here in January. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Johnny Mac, great stuff, man. Thank you for checking in. We will talk to you in the morning on Birds 365, right, brother?
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
Great stuff from Johnny Mac. Sills, any final thoughts from you before I let you go, brother? I know you're crying already about Corona.
I'm not crying about nothing here except this. It was great to hear John say it exactly because he knows in the postseason here, man. Now, look, again, this is an important win. You can't dismiss it. You just cannot dismiss what that game means tonight here for them being able to go on, Zander, and take control of the NFC East. Now your next step, obviously, like you guys were talking just now, is to go out and get home field advantage throughout the playoffs here on the NFC side. So they took care of great things. However, if you want to talk about a championship football team, you're right, man. Championship O-line, championship running back, championship defense. You don't have a championship quarterback.
Can they overcome that with the other things they have?
Maybe. They did in 22, and they were inches away from winning it. Okay?
Yeah, but to be fair to that year, Jalen was a championship quarterback that year. He was. Wasn't he?
Yes, but he's not now.
I'm agreeing with you.
I know what you're saying.
All right, so it's good stuff, brother. We'll see you tomorrow on the National Football Show.
Actually, it's going to be the National Crow Show tomorrow, so be prepared for that, 2 to 6.
Song, so.
However, I have some special dinner that I'm going to serve up too. John McMullen gave me a nice topic for tomorrow, and be prepared because guess why, folks? You do not have something that you need to win that famous Lombardi trophy. We will see you tomorrow, 2 to 6, National Football Show.
Sills, appreciate it, brother. Love you, man. You do a great job, and you know that.
Thank you all for coming aboard. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Good stuff from Big Sills, man. All right, man. Time for the post-game show. Your boy's tired, so if you're going to join, I got to get up at 8. Let's do this. Let's have a good show. I do want to read a couple super chats because I'm getting all of them, as I mentioned, and I want to thank our new members, man. This is maybe the most. We've gotten 16 new members since the show started. It maybe is our most new members ever in one show. So thank you guys for joining. You're all officially entered in to the Saquon Barkley jersey giveaway. Nick Not Home, Jason Hampton, Jarrett Ortega, Corey Littles, John Wick. Got John Wick here. Riding the Bench Eagle Podcast. Corey becomes a member. Primetime Stephen Joyce. I like that name. Little primetime action there. Tim Hoffman, M. Escobar, Sig Lord, Alicia. I don't know how to say that. Alicia Champion, Old Eagle fan, Dak Prescott. I like that name. It's funny. Polska Trucker. Appreciate you, Polska. Great supporter of ours. Eric Holland, Philly to Chicago, and Broad. So big thanks to all of you guys for the support of the channel today. We're going to get our post-game show where you guys will have the chance to join. And like I said, I do have the show at 8 a.m. Already 1 o'clock here on the Eastern time. So don't worry, I won't leave you hanging. But if you're going to join, keep it short, sweet. LJ, I want you up. LJ, I want you up. I will give you the link. I'm looking forward to you joining the show if you're willing to do it, brother. It'd be great to talk to you. I do respect your ability to troll. So we had C24 on, but C24 has been axed because he won't show his face and he's continuing to not chirp Sills on things of merit, but attack the channel. So I'm just like, look, I don't want to invest all my money and my life and my savings and everything in this channel for you to sit here and be a jerk off. But LJ, I'd love to get you on, man. Let's get to our commercial break. When I come back from the commercial break, I'll drop the link for you guys to join. Actually, I'll just drop it right now. So if you're in there, join up. Here's the link now. There you go. There's the link to join the show. I'm going to take a commercial break, and we will be back in 3 minutes on the JAKIB post-game show here on JAKIB Sports. Birds, moving in, man. 8-2. They're in control of the NFC East. Looking forward to do that. We'll be back in 3 minutes.